In this video, I'm going to tell you about the new quality management standards. We used to call this quality control. Now we'll call it quality management. And it's a big deal. This is a substantial change from what you have done in the past. If you perform accounting and auditing services, then stay tuned because you're going to need to create and implement this standard by December 15th, 2025. And I said new standards, plural, so there's actually 4 new standards in play. One, Statement on Quality Management Standards number 1, Statement on Quality Management Standards number 2, SAS 146 and SARS 26. In this video, we're going to focus on SQMS number 1. It's kind of the heart and soul of what's going on with these changes. So in this SQMS number 1 standard, the key changes are as follows. The first thing I want to say is that we now have a risk-based approach. So in the past, we had a quality control document. That document most of the time was fairly static. We did our engagement reviews. We did our monitoring once a year. This is going to be very different because we're going to tailor the quality management system based on the risk in your CPA firm. So take one firm that's doing audits of governments and maybe construction contractors and employee benefit plans. And let's say that they're also doing compilations and reviews. Well, that firm has particular risk elements. If you had another firm that was only doing compilations, then that second firm's risk profile would be significantly less and there wouldn't be as many requirements. So one thing you're going to see in this new standard as you create your QM process, that quality management process, is going to be based on the risk that your firm has, which is largely dependent upon the types of clients, the types of engagements that you work with. So key changes. One, we have 2 new components, risk assessment and information and communication. There's a total of 8 components. We'll see those in a moment, but these 2 are new. Another change is enhanced governance and leadership. It's quite interesting, but going forward, you're going to assign the responsibility for your quality management system to your managing partner or your chief executive officer or your managing board, depending upon how you govern your firm. In most instances, this would be the managing partner. So that person will have responsibility for the quality management system. And this person will also conclude once a year on the system. So the managing partner will look at the monitoring processes. He or she will look at what's been going on with the QM system during the year, and then he or she will conclude as to whether or not the system provides reasonable assurance that it's meeting the objectives that we desire. You're also going to see that there's an operational responsibility. On the prior slide, we see ultimate responsibility. On this slide, we see operational responsibility. That's usually going to be your quality management director or partner. This might be a manager in your firm, depending on how your firm handles this. But there's going to be an individual that is assigned with the operational responsibility for the quality management system. You might also have a separate assignment for other responsibilities in the system, such as compliance with independence. So you might have another person that's handling that part of the QM system, and you could have another person doing the monitoring and remediation. I think in most firms, the quality management director or partner or manager, whoever that person is, they'll probably be doing all of this, but at the end of the day, somebody has operational responsibility on a day-to-day basis for the system. So when are the new standards required to be implemented? December 15th, 2025. Go ahead and put it on your calendar and start working toward developing your quality management system. That date will come sooner than you think, and these standards will, I promise you, require more work than you might think they will. So who has to do this? Well, these standards are applicable to any firm that does accounting and auditing work. So if you're doing audits, reviews, compilations, agreed upon procedures, attestation services such as an examination, maybe yellow book engagements. So if you're doing those, then you're going to be subject to these requirements. So what are the objectives of a good quality management system? There's really two things we're going after, the things that we desire. These are the goals in a good quality management system. We want to make sure we comply with professional standards. So if you're doing audits, you want to comply with the SASs. You want to comply with the audit standards. If you're doing compilations and reviews, you want to comply with the SARs. And the second thing we want to do here is make sure we issue the right reports. So if I do a review engagement, I want to make sure I issue an appropriate review report. Same for an audit, same for a compilation, or any attestation, audit, SARS type engagement. So that's what we're after. As you develop your system, keep these two things in the back of your mind, and it will help you a lot as you develop the system. One thing we see in the standards, which is a nice thing, is that your QM system is scalable. So if you're a small firm and you only do, say, compilations, your QM system will be much simpler than a firm that's doing audits. Now, you're going to look at the nature and circumstances of the firm. You're going to look at the types of engagements you do to determine how much risk you have. And then once you do that, you're going to annually evaluate your QM system and then conclude about whether it provides reasonable assurance. Here are the 8 components of the quality management system, and I'm going to go through these real quick. Risk assessment, 2, governance, 3, ethical requirements, 4, acceptance and continuance. Now some of these we had in the past. We said that there's 2 new ones, but some of these we've had in the past. Number 5, engagement performance. Number 6, resources. Number 7, information and communication. And number 8, monitoring and remediation. As you develop your quality management system, you want these 8 components to dovetail together. You want them to be holistic. You want them to complement each other. So you're trying to develop an overall system that handles all the contingencies that might come into play for your firm, depending on the type of work that you do, the environment that you work in, the types of clients that you have. Now, I'm going to highlight the first component. We're not going to go through all of these, but this, to me, is the most important change, is the risk assessment piece. So what do we do here? Well, we establish those quality objectives, and I'm going to give you an example in a moment. We establish the quality objectives, such as our firm desires to comply with the audit standards. That would be an objective. Number two, then based on that objective, what's the risk? Well, the risk is we don't comply with the audit standards. Now, I'm speaking in kind of a broad terms at the moment. You're going to get more specific as you develop your quality management system, but just trying to give you an overall feel for how this works. And so when you look at quality risk, you're going to look at the nature and circumstances of your firm. Then you're going to look at the types of engagements that you perform. And based on those, you're going to build your QM system. So as we look at the firm, how complex is your firm? How do you make your strategic decisions? What type of management style does your firm have? What types of resources does your firm have? In other words, what technologies are you using? What types of personnel do you have? So we're going to look at the dynamics of the firm so that we can lay the groundwork for assessing what types of risk that we might have. We're also going to look at the types of engagements. So if you do audits, that's one risk element. If you do, say, examinations under the attestation standards, that would be another one. If you do yellow book engagements, that would be another one. So you're going to look at the types of engagements, the reports issued, and the types of entities before you do your risk assessments. So once you develop your risk assessment, then you're going to design responses. You may see some parallels here in terms of what we do in audits on risk assessments and what we're doing here. So in audits, we look at the entity and its environment. We do walkthroughs, we do risk assessments, and then we develop audit programs. In this QM system, we're doing conceptually the same kind of thing. But rather than looking at the entity we're auditing, we're looking at the CPA firm, your CPA firm, to develop a quality management system based on the risk in your firm. And then we're developing a plan, responses, to bring down the risk that the firm, the CPA firm, your firm, would not comply with professional standards or issue the right reports. So that's where we're going. So after we do this, we design and implement responses to the risk that we identify. We're going to do this based on those components that we talked about earlier. So you're going to look at governance, for example. You're going to look at performance, the engagement performance, for example. And you're going to develop a list of objectives for those different components. Then you're going to create the quality risk, and then based on those risks, we're going to develop responses for those components. So here's an example. First, we develop an objective. Maybe the objective is that consultations with experts within or outside the firm are made when difficult issues are encountered. That would be our goal. The risk is that we don't do that. And maybe we assess the risk for this element at moderate. So you're going to develop the objective, develop the quality risk, and then you're going to assess the risk. And of course, the higher the risk level, the more you'll need to do in your responses to deal with the risk. The lower the risk, the less you'll need to do in terms of responses. So I'm going to challenge you to go ahead and get started, because December 15th, 2025 will come very soon, and I want to make sure you're prepared for this. If you haven't done anything so far, the first thing I would say is find some good continuing education classes so you can get up to speed on this. The next thing I would say is go ahead and put together a team. So this team might be your managing partner, your quality control / quality management partner or manager, and then you might have 2 or 3 more people. Go ahead and put that team together, and this will help you tee things up and get things started in regard to the quality management standards. You may not like me anymore after this video. I'm still your friend. I'm trying to tell you about things that are coming. So I hope you found this beneficial. If I can help you in some way, please let me know. Until the next video, take care, and I'll see you then. Thanks, and bye now.